Today's movie is Poetic Justice. So, here's the IMDb. In this movie, we see the world through the eyes of main character Justice, Janet Jackson, a young African American poet. A mail carrier invites a few friends along for a long overnight delivery run. And that kind of is what happens in the movie.
Okay. I guess you want to start this time?
I'll start. So, we start with our favorite scenes, I believe.
Yeah.
And
There's favorite things about
favorite
yeah.
things. One of my favorite things was the inner monologue scene at the beach. That kind of amused me because I like listening to characters do like just think things out and just hearing how their thoughts are going. And I love it even more when a character is thinking like the most mundane thing, like Regina King's character. I want to say Leisha. Leisha. It was an L. So Leisha, I believe, she was like, yeah, I need to go out to the dragoners. I wonder if she can go to the dragoners. I guess that's what I'm going to do when I get home. So I love when people are saying mundane thoughts like that.
Okay. I think my favorite part about this movie is the poetry.
Oh, yeah.
Those scenes, I guess they're all my interlude poems, so all great poems. But yeah, I just thought they were really good poems, really, and I guess they were like placed in the movie at good times
Yeah.
as well. So I think that was definitely my favorite part.
I like them too. They're very thoughtful.
Yeah.
And like, just Janet Jackson's reading voice is very nice.
Yeah,
With it
yeah.
too. She had a very soothing
Yeah,
voice
I
to
think
go
this
with
is
the
kind of the
poetry.
whole
Very
movie.
nice. I also put I read her poetry. And I said, as a whole, the female characters in the movie were pretty good. We didn't have too many, like, we had a few, but there weren't too many, like, stereotypical, like, she's naggy mom, or, like, she's ball buster, or she's slut, or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't have too many of them just, like, straight window characters. A lot of people had a lot of shades to them, especially the two main girls we stayed with, which were Leisha and Justice. There was, like, a little bit of color in them, a little bit of shades in them. We got, like, highs and lows of their personality. There were good things and bad things about each of them, so I love that in movies when women characters
Yeah.
are characters.
Yeah, no, I noticed that too. And even in I guess in the salon scene, like they definitely just had a variety of all different shades of black women, all different kinds. So I definitely appreciate that as well.
I like the salon. I would be staying here longer.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with that a bit too. I definitely agree with that. I think some of my favorite just moments of the movie happened in the salon. You know, like the moment at the end with the kid getting her hair done.
Yeah.
That was a cute moment. I actually did like the original scene where
He was,
Lucky.
Lucky.
Yeah, where Lucky walks into the salon and they have their little like first exchange.
Yeah.
I did kind of like that exchange. So that was probably my I guess second favorite part.
yeah. Those are the main parts that I, you know,
I mean, yeah, no, that was pretty much all I had too.
Yeah. So I guess now we do problematic things.
Yeah. So for me, I guess I'll start. For me, I guess the biggest problem I had with the film was it was just like so ingrained in the idea of the patriarchy that I feel like the movie almost didn't even have a real plot. You know, the plot just kind of seemed to be, you're a beautiful young woman, why don't you have a husband? Your life would be better if you had a husband. And then on the flip side, like, you're a young man, like, you know, just use him and lose him or whatever, you know? So
Yeah.
I think that kind of like drove so much of the movie, you know, to the point where like I couldn't even appreciate their road trip because I'm like, okay, if you take away that like she needs to find a man, he needs to find a woman, and all that stuff, they're not getting in that. Like that road trip made no sense. Like none of them really liked each other, so
I know.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I get that too because, and the funny thing about that is that the two parts of the patriarchy are like so opposing. So it's like you kind of can't have it both ways. You can't have it like one side can't be use him and lose him, and then the other side can't be like, well, hold on tight, we need a husband, because that just
Yeah.
fundamentally doesn't work.
Yep.
So I said problematic scene for me was the mailroom scene in the beginning when they were talking to their Mexican friend or coworker. I don't know. There was just a little bit of whatever in there, but like you, all the '90s classic '90s have gotten hurt, then he was like, oh, I guess this is my problem now. It's like, you can't pick and choose.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, no, I wasn't a fan of that part either.
No, and then they just left him. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, no, he kind of just disappeared out of the movie after that. And
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't like worried about him per se, but
No.
I was like, hey, are we gonna go back for
We're
it?
gonna figure out what
You
happened.
know?
Because they really did just leave him on like a cliffside beach or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, again, because he went after justice. Not even because he went after his girlfriend, whoever Alicia was to him. So that was like a whole kind of different kinds of women thing, and one kind of woman's better than the other
Pick and
type
choose
of
which one
thing.
you respect.
Yeah. So that was not
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that either.
No.
I guess like yeah, like overall, I wasn't a fan of the plot. When Lucky died, or not Lucky, Lucky's cousin Khalil died. That like came really out of the blue to me, just because I didn't really know where they were going on this whole trip. And then he got out the car real nonchalantly, considering there were police on the block. And then the door was open. Again, he was still very nonchalantly walking around. And then it took a while for me to remember who Khalil was in the movie, just because I think there was that scene in the beginning where he plays his music, but aside from that, there wasn't really much, I guess. Unless I missed it. Like he does definitely mention that he's going to like record music with his cousin. But
like he tells his mom, he's like, I'm gonna go to my aunt's house, and his
Yeah.
mom's like, don't stay too long. She's weird about stuff like that. And then we kind of forget why they're on a trip.
Yeah, and I don't know how
It's one of
often
those
they're
things.
making this trip. If this is like a weekly thing or like a so I don't know. I just had a lot of questions surrounding like the purpose of the trip
Okay.
and how the trip ended up really.
So I guess that means what's your rating?
Well, is that the next? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
my next question. What's your rating?
my rating, let's see. I'm torn between a 1.5 and a 2. I honestly wasn't a huge fan. Like, there was very little I like really enjoyed about this movie.
Man.
Like, I didn't think there were any like I just did like the plot just to me just wasn't engaging in any way, shape, or form. And that really hurt the movie for me. I just kind of I found myself asking like, what am I actually watching? Like, what is supposed to be happening? So I honestly wasn't a huge fan of this one. So, yeah.
I also have it like at a 2-star.
Okay.
Just because, like you, we were kind of like, why are they on this trip again? Like, what's going on? And also, a big thing for me was that I didn't find their romance very believable, because it kind of not came out of nowhere, because we knew he liked her from the beginning scene, but they just had like the huge fight when they first started the trip, when he like first picked her up. She was like, don't ever pick her up or I'm leaving. And they had like a monster argument. Like they had a big argument. She like gets out the car and starts walking. And he like literally drives away for a bit until Alicia has him come back. And then she gets back in the car. Nothing that we see happens to change their views on each other. And then all of a sudden they sneak into that family reunion barbecue or whatever, and they're kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where I was like,
It almost seemed to me like they bonded over how bad the other relationship was. Because like there was that moment where the girl was gonna cheat on him and
Alicia was with that guy at the barbecue, and Chicago went over and was like ready to start a fight.
So they both kind of had that moment where they were both kind of helping their friend together, and I guess maybe they bonded over that. And then they were in the mail truck and they were fighting in the back. So like again, like I feel like we just missed so much of the trip, and then bonding that like toward the end when they were like getting together, I'm like, I don't really know why she's into you. I barely know why you like her aside from her being cute, so.
Yeah. I did like that she decided to stop wearing black at the end. That was good.
Yeah.
Also, another thing was, this movie wasn't what I thought it was going to be, because for whatever reason, when we watch these movies, we don't Google the plot or anything like that. We don't look up what the movie's about.
We just
we don't do
go
anything. We just like go in and we're like, everyone's like, you're still sad about that? It's like,
Yeah.
he died in front of her.
Yeah, like I don't know what the timeline there was, but her friends were not supportive on that one. Like,
Yeah, like, forget the fact that your boyfriend died. He died in front of you.
yeah, you were like, yeah, no.
He was like in the front seat of the car, she was in the back seat of the car, and then all of a sudden, guns in his head, and he dies.
Yeah.
Like, so she should have gone to therapy, to be honest. But outside of that, she had her poetry, so I thought she was gonna like really be working through her feelings at a slam poetry thing, and then like Lucky, she would meet Lucky, and he'd be like doing a different kind of poetry, rap, and they'd kind of do something like that. So that was not the plot of the movie. So maybe that's what I thought that's what it would be.
No, I had no idea what the plot was. Like absolutely no idea. The only thing I knew about this movie was Kendrick Lamar has a song called Poetic Justice. That's more or less my understanding of the movie.
I knew Tupac was in it, but
That
what was
is
also
one,
funny was he didn't perform.
Yeah.
Like he was like, I want to do this music thing, and we never see him do this music thing.
Oh yeah, like that.
So I was
just
like,
kind of left hanging
really?
at the end. It's like I guess everyone knows he's a rapper, so like.
So
I
it's
guess
like
they
you can
wanted
kind
to
of fill in
leave
the
it at
blank,
that,
but
I want to hear a little something, you know?
yeah.
That would have been
Even
nice.
if it was like some of his like demos he never released or something.
It was
I
like a
don't
little
know.
16-bar
Like
freestyle or something.
like a
You know?
little something.
A little taste.
So that was that's mostly why I gave it 2 stars because it just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And also it was kind of like a road trip movie, but it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And road trip movies are fun, where you're like just a bunch of people who like each other, who are just like going across, who are taking like a very long trip together.
These are essentially strangers, kind of.
Yeah, or
stuck in a
people
van,
who hated each other.
Yeah.
Going on a trip that we didn't know about.
Yep.
And as it turns out, the trip wasn't like a drug run or anything like that.
No,
They said a run, and it was like they were just going to deliver mail.
Yeah. Which also, I didn't understand that either. Like, I don't know really why.
Maybe
we're
not ingrained in the post office, so we don't know mail stuff.
Yeah.
But that was, I don't know.
I didn't know they have like interstate trips often like that.
Yeah, so I was like, what? Is this a thing that you can just like take a mail truck?
Yeah. I thought they had like other trucks, other people who do that. I don't know.
Yeah. And also, because the guy mentions once Lucky actually gets there, he's like, wasn't another guy supposed to be with you? Yeah, Chicago. That was his coworker. So like, he was supposed to be doing the job too, I guess. And
I guess his kid. We need to talk about his daughter.
because that scene was kind of a mess.
It was in the beginning. It was a mess. And then there was that scene where he first went home and told the mom. And I was wondering where the kid was, but I guess it was just nighttime and the kid was sleeping, so we cleared that up.
But we already talked about how like hypocritical the patriarchy is, because
Yeah.
it's so funny. Because he goes to his I want to say Angel, his baby mama's name. So he goes to Angel's house and is like, "You're doing all this stuff around my daughter," but like legit, he comes in with a 40 and is like drinking beer in front of her, cursing and all that other stuff. So it's like, really, like she's the only one who has to like be responsible for like doing proper decisions. You can just do whatever and then leave her after you say you don't want her in that house. You just leave her with your mom. And like never takes care of her again. It was almost like he was looking for a new mom for her in Justice towards the end when it was like. But then it was funny because Justice said she didn't like kids at that barbecue.
Yeah. She was playing with the kid, I guess, and maybe it was just flirtatious behavior. Who knows? But and again, that's kind of like my whole overarching problem with the movie. Like so much of it is centered around the idea of like man, woman, kid kind of thing. You know that. Get things at the end where like, oh, he's considered her for a mother. Like in reality, there's no real like ground for that.
Yeah, the relationship didn't make sense.
And just kind of reading the summary. Apparently, that was like a few months after the outburst, or like a few weeks after the outburst.
Wait,
they, like,
what?
Yeah, I forget where I was reading. I want to say it was IMDb. I was reading like a longer summary or something. Oh no, it was Wikipedia.
Oh.
According to the Wikipedia summary, like it's like a couple weeks after the outburst that he just appears in the shop with his daughter.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I'm like, I'm not buying that. Like, I guess like watching the movie, I was like, okay, it's a few days later or whatever, and like I still wasn't really buying it, but knowing that it was like longer or supposedly longer makes it worse, I guess.
To me, it does too.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Because it's like I'm assuming they hadn't talked in that time, so
Yeah.
it's like now random so and so who yelled at me a while ago is now coming to. I forgot that even happened.
Yeah, the plot of the movie to me was just kind of this is the patriarchy. Let's see how we can conjure something up. So yeah, again, like that was my biggest problem with the movie.
We said there was gonna be a romance and
Yeah,
didn't. We'll put one in there.
That's basically what happened. I guess final question. Do we wish we saw it earlier? Do we feel we missed out? Whatever we want to answer.
I missed not a thing.
It's no for me no matter what the question is.
I don't mind that I didn't see it. I almost wish I didn't see it because I didn't need this.
Yeah, like I was okay seeing it. Like it wasn't a total waste of time.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't a waste of time, but like I didn't need it.
Like borderline enjoyable, So
it just wasn't fun.
Yeah, like it just wasn't that great.
It wasn't fun, and I kind of want to have a little bit of fun with my movie.
Yeah, and it also wasn't that like dramatic or anything.
Yeah.
It's not like I was sitting on the edge of my seat, just like anticipating what's gonna happen next. Like I was kind of just sitting there, like, is something gonna happen?
Is anything gonna happen?
Yeah.
Oh, and also this is already all over the place. But when he blames her for like, if I wasn't like booed up with you, I could have saved my cousin.
Yeah.
First of all, you guys stopped at that family reunion, and then you stopped on the beach for another thing, and then you also stopped at where else did they stop? At the fair.
Yeah.
Like you stopped multiple places, so
Yeah.
no.
And two, like, what were you gonna do? Like, it's not like you knew there were people looking for him.
Yeah.
So, like, or at least there's nothing to make you believe that. So, like, you would have gotten there and just, I guess, been able to call the police, or you would have,
Call them faster? I don't know.
You would have been there when they showed up, maybe. Like, I don't know. Like, I didn't put the two and two together. I understand there's a lot of emotion involved in that time, but
that
made
I'm
no
blaming
sense
her.
to me. Like y'all all made to stop too. Like,
yeah.
you were enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
You didn't seem to be in any rush whatsoever. Like, I didn't even know where you were going, so clearly you weren't in that much of a rush.
There were multiple times during the movie you were like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Where are we going? We don't know. But yeah. So I guess our final consensus is, if you like this movie, that's great for you.